The chamber was silent when Doyon Kim walked through the tall doors. His footsteps echoed on the polished floor that reflected 1,000 lights from above. Around him sat the representatives of 43 alien species, each one watching him with different kinds of eyes. Some had multiple sets. Others had compound lenses that sparkled like jewels. A few had sensory organs. Humans still did not fully understand, even after 200 years of contact. Doyon carried a single data tablet in his hands. His suit was plain gray, the color of Earth's storms. He wore no decorations, no medals, nothing that showed his 30 years of service to humanity's diplomatic corps. Behind him walked Minji Park, his junior assistant, carrying a sealed container. She was young, barely 25. This was supposed to be the beginning of her career in galactic politics. At the center of the chamber sat Veltrax, the council chair. His species, the Pelthrans, were tall and broad with skin that shifted between blue and purple depending on their mood. Right now, Veltrax was a deep, confident blue. He looked at Doyen the way someone might look at a servant who had interrupted an important meeting. Doyen stopped at the speaking platform. The lights focused on him, warm against his face. He placed the tablet down and looked around the chamber slowly, meeting as many eyes as he could.
Eyes.
Honored members of the Galactic Council, he began. His voice was steady and clear. I come before you today to deliver a message from the United Governments of Humanity. Veltrax leaned forward slightly. We are listening, Ambassador Kim. Though I hope this matter is worth calling an emergency session, we have many pressing issues to discuss. Doyon tapped the tablet. A hologram appeared above it, showing the official seal of humanity. Effective immediately, humanity is withdrawing from all council treaties, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. We are resigning our membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted, not in gasps or shouts, but in a wave of confused, chittering, clicking, and humming sounds. Each species expressed surprise in their own way. Veltrax's skin flickered briefly toward orange, a sign of annoyance before settling back to blue. This is unexpected, Veltrax said. He gestured with one long arm, and the chamber quieted. Might we ask the reason for this dramatic decision? The reasons have been documented and submitted to this council 14 times over the past 20 years, Doyon said. His voice did not rise or fall. It was flat, emotionless. Our trade agreements are one-sided. Our workers are paid less than any other species for the same work. Our patents are ignored. Our requests for equal voting rights have been denied in every session. We have asked for change. We have begged for it. We have argued for it. Nothing has changed. A Vrenthi counselor stood up. The Vrenthi look like tall birds with 4 arms. Your species benefits greatly from council membership. You have access to markets across 300 worlds. You receive protection from our combined fleets. Your people can travel freely through council space. And in return, Doyon continued, we maintain your ships because you find our engineers cheaper than your own. We grow your food because human farmers work for half the price of Vrenthi farmers. We build your computers, maintain your stations, and solve your problems. And we do it all while being told we should be grateful for the opportunity. Veltrax stood now, his full height towering over the platform. His skin had shifted to a darker blue, almost navy. Ambassador Kim, I believe you are being overly emotional about standard economic practices. Every species finds its place in the galactic economy based on their strengths. Humans happen to be good at many things, and yes, you are efficient workers. This is not exploitation. This is simply how markets work. Doyon picked up the tablet. He looked at it for a moment, then at Minji. She stepped forward and opened the sealed container. Inside were data chips, documents, and various items bearing official seals. We are returning all council property, Doyen said. Our embassy will be closed by the end of the week. All human diplomatic staff will be recalled. All human-operated services under council contract will cease operation in 30 days. You cannot simply leave, another counselor said. This one was Thesa, an Aurelian with crystalline features that caught the light. Her voice actually sounded concerned, different from the others. There are procedures, negotiations, transition periods. We followed procedures for 2 decades, Doyon replied. We negotiated in good faith. We offered compromises. We were patient. Now we are done being patient. Humanity is leaving, Veltrax laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound. Several other counselors joined in, their various species versions of laughter, creating a strange chorus. Where will you go, Ambassador? Back to your small cluster of worlds? You will come back within a year, begging to rejoin. You need us far more than we need you. Doyon closed the container and handed it to a council attendant. He bowed slightly, a formal gesture of farewell. Perhaps you are right, he said quietly. Perhaps we will regret this decision, but it is made. Humanity will no longer participate in a system that does not value us. He turned to leave. Mingy followed him. The chamber had gone quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet now. It was the silence of people who had just witnessed something they did not fully understand. As they walked down the long corridor, away from the chamber, Mingy spoke for the first time. Do you think they will try to stop us? No, Doyon said. They think we are bluffing, or throwing a tantrum. They think we will realize we made a mistake and come back apologizing. Will we? Doyon stopped and looked at her. For the first time that day, he smiled. It was a sad smile, tired and worn. We have been planning this for 15 years, Mingy. Every human colony has been preparing. We have supplies, we have ships, and we have a destination they know nothing about. We are not coming back. Not like this. Not as their cheap labor. They continued walking. Behind them, the council was already moving on to other business. They did not yet understand what they had lost. They would not understand for months. But by then, it would be far too late. Within 3 days, every human embassy in council space was empty. Within a week, human ships began leaving alien ports without explanation. Within 2 weeks, human colonies stopped responding to council communications. They did not send distress signals. They did not ask for help. They simply went silent, and in that silence, something began to break. 6 months had passed since the humans left. Veltrax stood in his private office looking at reports that made no sense. The numbers were wrong. They had to be wrong. The Galactic Council had existed for 10,000 years. One species leaving could not cause this much disruption. But the reports did not lie. The Vrenthi shipping corporation had collapsed 3 days ago. It happened so fast that financial experts were still trying to understand how. The company had operated over 6,000 cargo ships across council space. They transported everything from food to medicine to military supplies. Now, 80% of those ships were grounded because there was nobody to maintain them. Veltrax had asked the obvious question during the emergency meeting. Why could the ships not be maintained? The Vrenthi had their own engineers. Every species had engineers. The answer had been uncomfortable. Yes, the Vrenthi had engineers. But for the past 50 years, they had been contracting maintenance work to human companies because humans did it faster and cheaper. The Vrenthi engineers had moved into management positions or retired. An entire generation had never learned the hands-on work because humans were doing it. Now, the humans were gone, and the knowledge had gone with them. That was problem 1. Problem 2 arrived the next day. Agricultural worlds across the council were reporting crop failures. Not just 1 or 2 worlds. 17 major farming planets were showing soil degradation, pest outbreaks, and falling yields. The reports came from different sectors, different species, different crops. The only thing they had in common was timing. The problems had started exactly 4 months ago. Thesa had figured it out first. She appeared on Veltrax's communication screen looking tired. Her crystalline features, usually bright and clear, seemed dull. It is the terraforming microbes, she said without greeting. The humans developed specialized bacteria that maintained soil fertility on worlds with non-native crops. They sold the microbes, but kept the formulas proprietary. The microbes die after a few generations and need to be replenished. We have 4 months of stockpiled product left. After that, Crop yields will fall by 60% across council space. Veltrax felt his skin shift toward yellow. Anger and fear mixed together. Can we not simply reproduce the microbes? Our scientists are perfectly capable. I had our best biological engineers examine samples, Thesa interrupted. The microbes have built-in genetic locks. They self-destruct if we try to sequence them or modify them. It would take our teams at least 5 years to develop replacements from scratch. We do not have 5 years. We have 4 months before widespread food shortages begin.
Veltrax
closed his eyes. When he opened them, Thesa was still there, waiting. What do you suggest? Contact the humans. Negotiate. Apologize if we must. No, the word came out harder than Veltrax intended. We do not negotiate from weakness. We will find another solution. Thessa's image flickered. For a moment, Veltrax thought it was interference. Then he realized the communication system itself was failing. Speaking of problems, Thesa said, we need to discuss the quantum network. The quantum communication network connected every major station and planet in council space. Messages that once took days to deliver now arrived instantly. The system had been built 40 years ago using human-designed infrastructure. Nobody had questioned it because it worked perfectly. Now it was failing. Not all at once, but in cascading waves. A relay station would go dark. Engineers would arrive to fix it, but they could not understand the human code running the core systems. They would get it partially working, which would put stress on connected stations, which would then fail. It was like watching a carefully balanced structure collapse one piece at a time. Veltrax had asked his best technicians to explain the problem in simple terms. The system is too complex, they had told him. The humans built it with redundancies and self-correcting protocols we do not fully understand. When something breaks, the system tries to fix itself. But it was designed by human programmers with human logic patterns. Our attempts to repair it actually make things worse because we are not thinking the way they thought. Then learn to think like them, Veltrax had ordered. That would take years, they replied. Maybe decades. Human cognitive patterns are different from ours. Their mathematics and programming logic follow pathways our minds do not naturally create. Veltrax returned his attention to Thessa's image. It was breaking up now, pixelating at the edges. How long until the network fails completely? Unknown. Could be months. Could be weeks. We are trying to maintain critical nodes, but we are losing ground. Thesa paused. Her image stabilized for a moment. Veltrax, we need the humans. This is not about pride anymore. This is about survival. Survived for 10,000 years before humans joined the council, Veltrax said. His skin was fully yellow now, bright with stubborn pride. We will adapt. We always adapt. The communication ended. Veltrax sat alone in his office as the lights flickered. Power fluctuations were becoming common. The station's systems were maintained by automated protocols that humans had written. Those protocols were starting to fail too. Across council space, similar conversations were happening. The Peltheran military command was discovering that their fighter craft needed human technicians to maintain the advanced targeting systems. The Vrenthi medical centers were running out of human-developed universal antibiotics that worked across multiple species. The Aurelian research institutes were finding that their most advanced equipment required human-made components that could no longer be ordered. Everywhere, small ways and large. The absence of humans was being felt. On the frontier worlds, things were worse. Pirates had always been a problem in the outer sectors, but human security companies had kept them manageable. Those companies employed human soldiers, pilots, and strategists who worked for lower pay than council military forces. They were efficient and effective. Now they were gone. Without human security, the pirates grew bold. 12 colonies had been raided in the past month. Council fleets were stretched thin, trying to protect too many worlds with too few ships. Requests for military protection were being denied simply because there was not enough manpower in the council chambers. Arguments grew heated. Representatives whose worlds were suffering demanded action. They wanted the council to send delegations to human space. They wanted negotiations. They wanted the humans back. Veltrax refused every proposal. We will not beg, he declared. We will find solutions. We will rebuild. We will prove that we do not need them. Late at night, in his private office, Veltrax looked at the reports and wondered if he was wrong. The numbers kept getting worse. Ships grounded, crops failing, networks collapsing, colonies raided. Every day brought new problems, and every problem could be traced back to the same cause. The humans were gone, and nobody had realized how much the galaxy had come to depend on them. Veltrax pulled up a star chart showing human space. The colonies were dark. No signals. No communications. No ships coming or going. It was as if 47 star systems had simply ceased to exist. He sent one message before sleeping. A simple request to the monitoring stations near human space. Keep watching. Report anything unusual. The response came back within an hour. Nothing to report. Human space remained silent. No activity detected. Veltrax turned off his screens and sat in darkness. Outside his window, the station's lights flickered again. In the distance, he could see a cargo ship drifting without power. Its engines had failed 2 days ago. There were no human engineers to fix them. The silence from human space was louder than any threat. It said, "You wanted us gone. Now, live with your choice." 1 year after the humans left, people were dying. The plague started on a mining colony in the Outer Rim. 3 workers came down with fever, then 10, then 50. Within a week, the entire colony of 8,000 was infected. Medical teams arrived with standard treatments, but nothing worked. The bacteria was resistant to every conventional antibiotic. What the doctors needed was synthbrod. The human developed universal antibiotic that worked across species barriers. The medicine had been a miracle when humans introduced it 60 years ago. One drug that could treat bacterial infections in 40 different alien biologies. Every hospital in council space kept it in stock. Past tense. Kept the supplies had run out 3 months ago, and there was no way to make more. The formula was human proprietary technology, locked behind patents and genetic codes that could not be broken. Scientists had tried. They failed. The drug was too complex. Built on human understanding of cross-species biochemistry that had taken them decades to develop, the mining colony was quarantined. Then 3 more colonies reported outbreaks. Then 8. Then 20. The bacteria spread through trade routes and passenger ships. Every species had different symptoms, but the result was the same. Without synthbrod, people died. The death toll reached 10,000, then 50,000, then stopped counting because the numbers were too depressing to announce publicly. Thesa stood in the council chamber and demanded action. Her voice cracked as she spoke, something that rarely happened to Aurelians. "We are watching people die from diseases we could have treated a year ago. Our hospitals are overwhelmed. Our doctors are helpless. And we are doing nothing because of pride." Veltrax sat in his chair, his skin a muddy gray. He had aged visibly in the past year. "We have sent 3 delegations to human space," he said quietly. All 3 found nothing. The border worlds are empty, but intact. Buildings standing. Lights on, but no people. They left messages. The same message in every location. Do you know what it says? He brought up a hologram. Simple text in standard galactic script. "You wanted us gone. We obliged. Then we go deeper into human space," Thesa argued. "We search their core worlds. We find them, and we negotiate." 2 ships tried that, Veltrax replied. They crossed into the inner systems. Neither returned. No distress signals. No wreckage found. They simply vanished. The chamber went silent. The implication was clear. Humans were defending their space, and they were not interested in visitors. A door opened at the back of the chamber. Everyone turned. A human walked in. Not a hologram. Not a recording. An actual human. The first one anyone had seen in council space in over a year. The human was elderly, maybe 70 years old, with gray hair and dark eyes. He walked slowly but steadily to the speaking platform. He wore simple clothes, nothing official, no uniform, No decorations. My name is Haisong Lee, he said. His voice was strong despite his age. I am the last human who chose to remain in council space. I stayed because I wanted to see what would happen. I wanted to witness the consequences. Veltrax leaned forward. Mr. Lee, if you have information about where the humans went, I am not here to help you find them, Haisong interrupted. I am here to testify, to speak truth while you still have time to hear it. He pulled out a data tablet. For 60 years, humans worked for the Galactic Council. We built your ships. We grew your food. We programmed your computers. We cured your diseases. We did everything you asked, and more. And how did you pay us? Haisong tapped the tablet. Financial records appeared in the air. Human engineers earned 40% less than Vrenthi engineers for the same work. Human doctors were paid half what Peltheran doctors received. Human farmers worked twice as many hours for 60% of the compensation. Every single trade agreement was structured to benefit council species at human expense. It's simply market economics, a counselor protested. Supply and demand. Humans were willing to work for less. We were willing because we wanted to be part of the galactic community, Haisong replied. His voice was rising now, anger breaking through. We believed that if we worked hard, if we proved our value, we would be accepted as equals. We were fools. You never saw us as equals. You saw us as cheap labor. He tapped the tablet again. More records appeared. 14 formal requests for equal voting rights. All denied. 21 petitions for fair labor standards. All ignored. 38 cases of human patents being stolen or ignored. Not a single case prosecuted. We documented everything. We followed procedures. We played by your rules. And you ground us down year after year until we had no choice but to leave. Thesa stood. Mr. Lee, I do not disagree with your assessment. Many of us tried to reform these practices. But right now, people are dying. Can you help us contact the human governments? Can you help us negotiate? Haisong looked at her for a long moment. His anger seemed to fade, replaced by something sadder. Do you know why I stayed, Counselor Thessa? I stayed because I wanted you to understand what you lost. Not just the labor. Not just the technology. You lost people who wanted to be your friends. Humans admired you. We looked up to the Galactic Council. We dreamed of being part of something greater than ourselves. And you crushed that dream through decades of casual exploitation. He turned to address the entire chamber. Humanity is not coming back to save you. They are not coming back at all unless you change. Fundamentally change. Not just words. Not just promises. Actual structural reform. Equal rights. Fair compensation. Respect. How do we do that when we cannot even contact them? Veltrax asked. He sounded genuinely lost. They are watching you, Haisong said simply. They never really left. They can see everything that happens in council space. They are waiting to see if you learn anything from this. If you grow, if you change, or if you just continue making excuses until everything falls apart completely. He walked away from the platform. At the door, he stopped and looked back. The medicine you need? The synth broad that could stop the plague. Humans stockpiled enough to treat every infected person in council space. They have warehouses full of it. But they will not give it to you. Not while you refuse to admit what you did wrong. Then he was gone. The chamber erupted in shouting. Some counselors demanded that Haisong be arrested and forced to reveal human locations. Others argued that his words proved humans were monsters who would let people die out of spite. A few sat quietly thinking. Thesa was one of the quiet ones. She pulled up the records Haisong had shown them. She spent hours reading through financial data, labor statistics, and legal cases. Everything he said was true. She had known parts of it before. Seeing it all compiled in one place was devastating. Humans had been exploited systematically for 60 years, and the council had allowed it because it was profitable. That night, Thesa called an emergency meeting of reform-minded counselors. There were 12 of them, representatives from different species who had tried to change things before. We need to pass new legislation, she said. Full citizenship rights for humans if they return. Equal pay standards. reparations for past exploitation, criminal prosecution of officials who knowingly violated fair labor practices. It'll never pass the full council, one counselor said. Too many species benefit from the current system. Even without humans, they will not vote to change it. Then we make them vote, Thesa replied. We make this the only issue that matters. We shut down every other piece of business until this passes. We show humans that we can change. And if we fail? Thesa looked out her window at the dying station. Ships drifted dark. Systems failed. People suffered. Then we deserve what we get. 18 months after the humans left, the Galactic Council was breaking apart. 3 member species had formally announced their intention to leave: the Drachni, the Sorthon, and the Kellyan Federation. All 3 gave the same reason. The Council had failed to maintain basic stability. Without human labor and technology, trade had collapsed. Without trade, their economies were dying. They would find their own solutions, even if it meant abandoning 10,000 years of tradition. Veltrax had tried to stop them. He had begged, he had threatened, he had offered concessions. Nothing worked. The 3 species left, taking their fleets, their resources, and their territories with them. The council that once spanned 300 worlds now controlled barely 200. More would follow. Everyone knew it. The only question was when. Veltrax sat in the council chamber, watching Thesa speak. She had been campaigning for 6 months, pushing her reform legislation with relentless determination. The voting was scheduled for today. This was the moment that would determine everything. For the last time, Thesa said, her voice carrying across the chamber, I present the Equal Species Act for your consideration. This legislation guarantees equal citizenship rights for all species, including humans, should they choose to return. It establishes universal labor standards. It provides reparations for documented cases of exploitation. And it creates oversight committees with power to prosecute officials who violate these standards. A Vrenthi counselor stood. This legislation punishes us for past actions that were legal at the time. It demands we pay reparations we cannot afford. And it gives humans special treatment, while our own people suffer. It does not give humans special treatment, Thesa countered. It gives them equal treatment, something they never had before. And yes, it demands accountability for past actions. Because if we do not acknowledge what we did wrong, we will never fix it. Even if we pass this, another counselor said, how do we know humans will see it? How do we know they will care? They have been silent for 18 months. Maybe they have moved on. Maybe they have found a better life without us. Thesa pulled up a hologram. It showed a star chart of human space. 2 weeks ago, our exploration teams made a discovery. In the abandoned human systems, hidden in the quantum communication network they built, there was a message. It took our best cryptographers 13 days to decode it.
Oh.
The hologram changed. Text appeared, written in both human script and standard galactic. When you are ready to treat us as equals, not resources, seek us at coordinates encrypted. The chamber went silent. Everyone stared at the message. The coordinates were right there, but encrypted, locked behind security that nobody could break. The encryption key, Thesa continued, requires 2 things. First, this legislation must pass with a unanimous vote, not a majority, not a supermajority. Unanimous. Every single council member must vote yes. Second, the legislation must be implemented. Actually implemented, not just passed and forgotten. The encryption monitors our legal systems. When it detects real change, the key activates. Act stood slowly. His skin was almost white now, drained of color. You were saying they have been watching us this entire time? They can see what we do. What we vote on? They built the quantum network, Thesa said. They programmed every system we rely on. Yes, they can see us. They have always been able to see us. They know everything that happens in council space. Veltrax sat back down. He looked old, defeated. Then they have seen us suffering. They have watched the plague spread. They have seen our people die, and they have done nothing. They have done exactly what we did to them, Thesa replied quietly. They have watched injustice happen and chosen not to intervene. Does that sound familiar? Chair Veltrax? The words hit like a physical blow. Veltrax had no response. We're voting now, Thesa announced. Every counselor will vote, yes or no. Equal rights and accountability or continued decline. Choose. The voting began. Names appeared on the hologram one by one, each followed by a vote. Green for yes. Red for no. The first 10 votes were green. Then a red appeared. Then more greens. Then 3 reds in a row. Veltrax watched the numbers climb. They needed every vote. Just one red vote would fail the legislation. The Vrenthi counselor voted red. The Peltheran military representative voted red. Several economic counselors voted red. Each red vote made Thessa's shoulders tighten a little more. But the green votes kept coming too. Species who had suffered most without human support voted green. Species who had lost people to the plague voted green. Species who had tried to reform the system before voted green. It came down to the final votes. 41 green. 5 red. 2 counselors left. One was Veltrax. The other was a Peltheran admiral named Korthon, who had spent his entire career opposing human integration. Korthon voted first. Red dot every eye turned to Veltrax. His vote would decide everything. If he voted red, the legislation failed. If he voted green, it passed, but barely. Either way, his decision would be remembered forever. Veltrax stood. He walked to the speaking platform. For a long moment, he said nothing. He looked around the chamber at the empty seats where 3 species used to sit. He looked at the flickering lights and failing systems. He looked at Thesa, who had given everything to this fight. I have been chair of this council for 40 years, Veltrax said. I have made many decisions in that time, some good, many bad. But I always believed I was doing what was best for the council. For our civilization. For our future. He paused. His skin shifted through colors. Blue, yellow, gray, finally settling on a deep purple that Peltheran showed when feeling shame. I was wrong, he said. The words seemed to cost him something. I was wrong about the humans. I was wrong about what they meant to us. I was wrong to believe we could survive without them. And I was wrong to treat them as less than equals when they deserved so much more. He raised his hand and cast his vote green. The chamber exploded in sound. Some counselors cheered. Others shouted in anger. Thesa closed her eyes and breathed deeply. The hologram updated. The Equal Species Act had passed, unanimously. 6 red votes that had been overridden by the requirement for full consensus, triggering a second round of voting. In the end, faced with the choice between change and collapse, every counselor had chosen change. But passing the law was only the first step. Thesa immediately began implementation. Oversight committees were formed. Labor standards were published. Reparations funds were established from council emergency reserves. Every species with documented cases of exploitation received compensation, not just humans. The reforms were real, structural, and immediate. 3 months later, the quantum communication network suddenly stabilized. Systems that had been failing for a year started working again. The encryption was helping them, repairing damage, storing functionality. A message appeared on every screen in council space simultaneously. We acknowledge your efforts. We see the changes you have made. We will send representatives. But understand this. We are not returning as supplicants. We are not coming back to be your cheap labor. We are coming as equals. If you cannot accept that, then we will remain separate. Choose wisely. Veltrax read the message in his office. He thought about resigning. He thought about the 40 years he had spent building a career on a foundation of exploitation. He thought about all the people who had died because of his pride. Instead, he sent a reply. We choose equality. We choose partnership. We choose to earn back what we lost through our own failures. Come home, please. Did not know if they would. He did not know if they could forgive what had been done. But for the first time in 18 months, there was hope. Small, fragile hope. But hope nonetheless. 2 years after humanity's departure, their ships returned to council space. They did not come quietly. A fleet of 200 vessels emerged from jump points across the border simultaneously. Every ship was new, built with technology the Council had never seen before. The hulls were sleek and dark, absorbing sensor scans rather than reflecting them. The weapon systems were visible, but not threatening. The message was clear. Humans had not spent 2 years hiding. They had spent 2 years building. The flagship transmitted a simple message. This is Admiral Gi-wan Choi of the Human Coalition. We request permission to dock at Nexus Prime for diplomatic discussions. We come in peace, but we come prepared. Issa granted permission immediately. She watched from the station command center as the human flagship approached. It was beautiful, she thought. Built with the kind of precision and artistry that humans brought to everything they created. The Council had forgotten how much humans valued making things beautiful, not just functional. The docking bay was crowded. Every counselor wanted to see the humans return. Security was tight, though Thesa wondered what security could do if humans decided to be hostile. Their technology had clearly advanced far beyond Council standards in just 2 years. Admiral Gi-wan Choi walked off the ship flanked by 2 officers. She was younger than Thesa expected, maybe 40 years old, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She wore a dark blue uniform with minimal decoration. The officers beside her carried no visible weapons, while they moved like trained soldiers. Gi-hwan stopped in front of Thesa and offered a formal bow. Thesa returned it. "Welcome back," Thesa said. "We have hoped for this day, have you?" Gi-hwan asked. Her voice was neutral. "Or have you hoped for salvation? There is a difference." Thesa felt the words like a challenge. "We hope to make amends. We passed the legislation. We implemented reforms. We have been changing," as Gi-hwan said. "We have been watching. We are impressed by the effort, Counselor Thesa, truly. But effort alone does not rebuild trust. Actions must follow words, and consequences must follow actions." They moved to a private conference room. Only 5 people. Gi-hwan and her 2 officers. Thesa and Veltrax. The council chair had insisted on being present. Even though his authority had been greatly diminished since the reforms, Gi-hwan sat down and placed a data tablet on the table. "Let me be clear about our position. The Human Coalition has thrived in the past 2 years. We colonized 14 new worlds. We built infrastructure beyond anything we had before. We developed technology we never had time to research while we were busy maintaining your civilization. We have trade agreements with independent species outside Council space. We are prosperous. We are happy. We do not need the Galactic Council." Veltrax flinched. Thesa remained still. "Then why come back?" Thesa asked. "Because some of us believe in second chances," Gi-hwan replied. "Because despite everything, many humans still believe the Galactic Council represents something worth preserving. A place where different species can work together, share knowledge, build something greater than any one civilization. We want to believe that ideal can be real, but we will not sacrifice our dignity for it. Not again." She activated the tablet. A hologram appeared, showing a detailed document. "These are our terms, non-negotiable. If you want humans to return to Council space, if you want access to our technology and labor, if you want us to help rebuild what has been broken, you must agree to all of this." Thesa began reading. The terms were extensive. Equal voting rights for humans on all Council matters. Human seats on the Council High Court. Criminal prosecution of officials who had knowingly exploited human labor. With trials conducted by mixed species courts, permanent oversight committees with human representation and veto power over trade agreements. Reparations not just to human governments, but to individual human workers who had been underpaid over the decades. Technology sharing that went both ways. With humans receiving access to Council research they had been excluded from before, and one more clause. Any species or individual who committed acts of discrimination against humans would face immediate sanctions and potential expulsion from the Council. These terms make humans the most protected. "Species in Council space," Veltrax said quietly. "More protected than any founder species. Yes, Juan agreed. Because we will not return to being second-class citizens. We will be equals, or we will be separate. There is no middle ground, Thesa kept reading. The more she read, the more she understood. These terms were not just about humans. They were about reforming the entire council system. The oversight committees would protect all species from exploitation. The equal voting rights would give voice to smaller civilizations who had been ignored before. The anti-discrimination clauses would create a framework for true partnership. Humans were not asking for special treatment. They were demanding the council live up to its ideals. Some species will refuse these terms, Thesa said. They will see them as humans taking revenge, taking power. Then those species can leave the council, Juan replied. Her voice was hard. We left when we were not treated fairly. If others believe fair treatment is unacceptable, they can leave too. The council can choose what kind of civilization it wants to be. One that protects all its members equally, or one that allows exploitation as long as it is profitable. Veltrax stood. He walked to the window and looked out at the docking bay where human ships waited. You have changed, he said. The humans who left 2 years ago would not have made demands like this. They would have negotiated, compromised, tried to make everyone happy. We grew up, Guan said simply. We learned that you cannot make people respect you by being agreeable. You earn respect by respecting yourself first, by knowing your worth and refusing to accept less. Veltrax turned back to face her. His skin was deep purple again, that color of shame he had worn when casting his vote months ago. I am sorry, he said, for what I did, for what I allowed to happen. I cannot change the past, but I want you to know that I understand now. I understand what we took from you. Guan looked at him for a long moment. Do you know what the hardest part was? It was not the low pay, or the long hours, or the stolen patents. It was the casual disrespect. The way you laughed when we said we would leave. The way you assumed we needed you more than you needed us. The way you never once considered that we might have other options. She stood and walked to where Veltrax stood. She was shorter than him by a foot, but somehow she seemed to tower over him. We did not leave to hurt you, Juan said. We left to save ourselves, to preserve our dignity, to show our children that they did not have to accept mistreatment just to be part of something. If you had treated us fairly from the beginning, none of this would have happened. The suffering, the death, the collapse, all of it could have been avoided with simple respect. Veltrax nodded. He had no words. What could he say? She was right. Thessa stood as well. I will present these terms to the full council. I will fight for them, but I cannot promise they will pass. Some species benefited greatly from the old system. They will resist. Then they resist, Guan said. But we will not lower our terms. We will not compromise our dignity again. The council chooses. Accept these terms, and we return as partners. Reject them, and we remain separate. Either way, humanity will be fine. The meeting ended. Guan and her officers returned to their ship. Thesa and Veltrax remained in the conference room. Can we pass this? Veltrax asked. I do not know, Thesa admitted. But we have to try, because if we do not, the council is finished. 3 species already left. More will follow. We are dying slowly. The humans are offering us a chance to rebuild better than before, stronger, fairer. But only if we have the courage to change completely. The vote was held 1 week later. The debate was fierce. Species argued that human terms were too harsh, too demanding, too punitive. Others argued that humans deserved every protection after what they had endured. The arguing went on for hours. In the end, the terms passed. Not unanimously this time. 32 species voted yes. 14 voted no. The 14 who voted no announced they were leaving the council. They would form their own alliance, one without human interference or oversight. The council that remained was smaller, but it was stronger in the ways that mattered. Humans began returning slowly. Not all of them. Some had decided they preferred their new colonies and new life. But many came back, bringing their skills and knowledge and hope that things could be different. Do-Yeon Kim, now elderly and gray, returned to Nexus Prime 1 year later. He stood in the docking bay where he had left 3 years before. The station looked different, cleaner, better maintained. Human engineers had returned and fixed the failing systems. The lights did not flicker anymore. Thesa met him personally. "Welcome home, Ambassador Kim." Do-Yeon smiled. It was a real smile this time, not the sad, tired one he had worn during his resignation speech. "Thank you. Though I am not an ambassador anymore, just an old man who wants to see what we built." They walked through the station together. Do-Yeon saw humans and aliens working side by side, not with the old dynamic of cheap labor and wealthy employers, as equals, partners, friends. Was it worth it? Thesa asked. The suffering, the time lost, the people who died. Was it worth it to make this point?